They shot the woman many times and then prevented a Palestinian ambulance from taking her away. Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The Struggle is shown on over 30 cable stations from Vermont to New York City, on the internet at thestruggle.org. Our YouTube channel is Struggle Video Media. You probably have heard of Israeli forces beating Palestinians inside Al-Aqsa Mosque and the pathetic protests of the head of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas. On September 18th, Palestinian youth were protesting against Abbas in Bethlehem, and one youth was beaten by his forces.
سكر الباب بسرعة سكر مليوك شدوا شباب ضموهم ينهض شايف انت؟ راك حرارية عم بغير فوق الشموطة.
2 days later, Middle East Eye says Palestinian Authority police who had been trained by the U.S. were using live ammunition.
يا شباب خلاص نروح تعالوا يا شباب دمشوا هذا الشيخ يا جماعه يا شباب وينكم يا شباب
And from a protest of Abbas in Gaza.
ارحل يا عباس ارحل يا عباس عباس لا يمثل إلا نفسه
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 من يحرم غزة من الحياة من يحرم غزة من الكهرباء والماء فليرحل عنا عباس
يرحل عنا عباس.
Now a new killing by Israeli soldiers, an 18-year-old woman in Hebron at a checkpoint. Youth Against Settlements was at the checkpoint doing photography. Apparently, the soldiers started yelling at her in Hebrew, a language she didn't understand. She became panicky and froze. A man named Fawaz Abu Aisha tried to help, but soldiers made him move away. They shot the woman many times and then prevented a Palestinian ambulance from taking her away. They waited 30 minutes for an Israeli ambulance. Predictably, the IDF claims she had a knife. But even if she did, why couldn't this gang of soldiers disarm her? And where is a woman soldier to do searches of women? And why is this gang maintaining checkpoints in a West Bank city anyway? Obama has done Israel a huge favor by crippling whatever nuclear program Iran had and assuring it now has no nuclear deterrent to the 200-plus atomic bombs in Israel's possession. Instead of thanking him, of course, Netanyahu acted as if Obama assaulted Israel and demands lots of shiny new weapons to make up for the offense. In May, Netanyahu was asking for $45 billion in guns over 10 years. In the past, it would have been a cakewalk for him to get it. But now a number of groups, from Jewish Voice for Peace to the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, are making a big effort. In a week, they've gotten over 50,000 petition signers against any more money going to the Israeli state. To look over or sign the petition, go to our website for the link. Netanyahu went to Moscow to meet up with Putin to talk about Syria and to make sure Israeli and Russian planes don't collide during bombing runs. After they talked, Netanyahu stated that Russia understood that Israel will bomb any arms transfer from Assad to Hezbollah. Putin didn't deny it. The open Israeli-Russian collaboration should be a message to those who are under the illusion that Russia is some kind of anti-imperialist country. And note that Israel made no effort to get Russia to stop arming Assad, or as others call him, King Barrel Bomb. This is Palestinian poet Remy Kanazi. He's going on a book tour with his new collection of poems, Before the Next Bomb Falls. He'll be speaking in New Haven, October 7th. See our site for details. Here's Kanazi reciting one of his poems a few years ago.
This poem will not end apartheid. My words, no matter how beautiful, clever, or carefully strung together, will not end the occupation, allow the refugees to return, or create equality within Israeli society. The status quo was a fantasy, telling us it's okay to sit on our hands, called political art propaganda, rather than those who politicize our lives, propagandists. Every American Brit should ask themselves this question: why are bombs and white phosphorus getting dropped on open-air prisons with money that should be going to pay for your medical expenses? And dear academics and leftists, I appreciate your books on Israeli massacres, but you refuse to take the bullets out of IDF guns with your stances. The problem is not just the occupation or putting a better face on Zionism, because 750,000 Palestinians were displaced before those settlements were constructed, half of them before Israel was created. We don't need another book explaining the situation. We need a lesson plan to stop the next bomb from dropping.
Speaking with him will be Hartford's Bishop John Selders, who was in Ferguson last year and again this year. He'll be talking about the All Roads Lead to Ferguson tour. Here's a bit of remarks that he gave recently at Wesleyan.
At some point, at some time, what happened in Ferguson has a context. St. Louis is what hovers over St. Louis is the Dred Scott decision, 1857. Chief Justice Roger Taney said that black people don't have no law that white people ever have to pay attention to in this country, in this context. And so for a very long time, for a century and a half, black people have lived and existed in St. Louis under this hovering that we don't matter. Don't you tell me black lives don't matter.
Now the first talks from 350.org's Out+In program in Brooklyn.
Welcome, y'all. I'm Phil McKibben. This is Naomi Klein from Canada. This is Cynthia Ong from Borneo. This is the Reverend Lennox Yearwood from Louisiana by way of our nation's capital. We're here to work tonight. All of us up here, all of you out there. Two key words for tonight: off and on. Our job as a movement is to turn off the world's supply of fossil fuel and to turn on the infinite power of renewable energy.
And we want to do it in a way that is rooted in justice. Economic justice, racial justice, gender justice, in a way that brings affordable green power to a whole lot of people on this planet that don't have any power at all right now. And that creates a whole lot of good jobs for people who don't have those either. We have this crazy idea that we can fight climate change and inequality at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
And we need to do it fast. Off and on, off and on. Let's set the scene. We gather here at a particular time. This is the 9th month of 2015, otherwise known as the hottest year since humans began keeping records.
Now, Bill, it's not like we haven't known about this before. We've just marked the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. In fact, we used the occasion to kick off the People's Climate Music Act on Climate Tour, which is, which actually, Bill, is winding its way around the country. And tonight, we are here in Brooklyn. Where almost exactly 3 years ago, Hurricane Sandy turned much of this city into an ocean. But this year is even worse.
Nations across the planet have set new all-time high temperature marks, and we've seen several of the deadliest heat waves ever recorded. In India, and a month later in Pakistan, thousands of people simply died in the streets, their bodies literally unable to cope with the heat and humidity. The pictures from California's drought are stark and horrible. These are cars caught on the freeway as wildfires sweep across Highway 5. Sometimes the drama is quieter. Kenya is now in year 10 of an epic drought, which has helped destabilize the society and set the scene for violent conflict. Refugees are streaming out of Syria, where, amongst all its other woes, drought forced millions off their land. Just today, 100,000 people had to be rescued from their homes in Japan after unprecedented rains sent rivers bursting through their banks.
Now, I'm a proud board member of 350.org, and because 350 organizes all over the world, we've got a better sense than many of the ongoing carnage, of the way that every day, somewhere on the planet, some new record is being set, and not the good kind. In March, for instance, our organizer, Iso Nime, was providing much of the news to the world from the Pacific island of Vanuatu in the aftermath of Cyclone Pam. That storm brought some of the highest sustained wind speeds ever measured in the South Pacific.
Dear friends, my name is Iso Nime. I was inside the meteorology building, but even inside you could feel how strong the wind was. When we went outside to help, objects were flying through the air, and water searching through the doorways. This Category 5 storm damaged 90% of the housing in Vanuatu. In some districts, all of the crops were wrecked. We've been working hard to rebuild, but we're working just as hard with people all around the world to make sure that this doesn't become a regular thing. Vanuatu has never seen a Category 5 storm before, and we never want to see one again.
I was just in Vanuatu last month and saw that firsthand. Since then, the Pacific has seen 7 more of these super typhoons. We're on pace for a record year. But storms are not the only way Asia is affected by fossil fuels. India this year officially passed China as the most polluted country on Earth. Wow. Scientists said in January that 1 in 6 Indians dies from the effect of air pollution. In April, a study found that half the children in New Delhi have irreversible lung damage just from breathing the air. Here's Renuka Saroha in Delhi.
I've been living in this city for almost 28 years, and I love this city. It has so much to offer, from historical significance to hope for future. But alas, Delhi is not a safe place anymore. It is the world's most polluted city. Even in summers, the visibility is reduced to only few blocks, and there's always haze in the sky. I don't even remember the last time I saw clear blue sky in Delhi. And with failing monsoons each year, the good quality air days is reducing. In 2015, it is estimated the good quality air would be limited to only 100 days. It's high time that India moves away from fossil fuels and starts adopting renewable at a faster pace. It's time India starts thinking about its future and its current population.
And if you think that's just Delhi, think again. Here's New York City with our brother Eddie Batista. Give it up for Eddie, y'all. Y'all can make some noise for Eddie Batista, man. Y'all can make some noise for that. Who can talk firsthand about the fight for climate justice in the richest city on the earth. Most lovely. Give it up, Eddie Batista.
Good evening, folks. How y'all doing? How many of y'all went to the People's Climate March last year? All right. By now we know it was the largest climate march in history. What many people forget, it was also the largest climate justice mobilization in history. Right. Over 40,000 people representing frontline communities from across the United States and indeed even across the world marched, and many came to New York City, and there were 2,000 actions across the world. Why? Why does climate justice resonate for our communities? Because we know that climate change will affect everyone, but its impacts are not going to be evenly felt. We know that low-income communities of color are in the crosshairs. Right. What does this mean for New York City? If we look at before Sandy, 45% of New Yorkers, that's 3.7 million New Yorkers, live in or near poverty. 75% of New York City's solid waste is handled in just 4 communities. In the Bronx, in 2009, NYU did a study that showed that death rates from asthma in the Bronx are 3 times the national average. Hospitalization rates are 5 times higher. What does this mean after Sandy? We now know that over 20% of all public housing units in New York City, over 35,000 units in over 400 buildings, were impacted by Sandy. Wow. What does this mean in the future? We're hearing that heat-related morbidity is expected to increase by 70% in New York City by 2050. The New York City Panel on Climate Change estimates that by the 2050s, heat waves are going to triple or quadruple, and the number of 90-degree days will double. And you guys have had a taste of it this year, the hottest year on record. What does this mean when you layer on these impacts on an unjust, inequitable system? For environmental justice communities, resiliency doesn't mean bouncing back to an inequitable, unjust system. Right. For us, resiliency means bouncing forward to a just and sustainable future. Join us in that fight. Thank you.
Brother.
I'm gonna hunt you down now.
Okay. When you hear Eddie talk, you know why there were 400,000 people came out last year. That's the world we live in now, a world where coal and oil and gas are quickly making life impossible, with the people who did the very least to cause it getting hit first and getting hit hardest. It's happening really fast, scary fast. 2015 is the hottest year ever measured. May was the hottest May. June was the hottest June. July was the hottest July. In fact, July was the hottest month ever recorded on this planet. You lived through history this summer. Now, when the world first met in Rio in 1990 for the first global climate talks, that was a quarter century ago, no one could have predicted how slowly our governments would move to meet the crisis that we're in. The opinion polling now around the world shows that for the planet as a whole, climate change is the number one worry that people have. But you would never know that from listening to our leaders.
Look, scientists have told us exactly what would happen if we burned all that carbon. They've also told us how much worse it will get if we stay on this crazy road. In fact, those of you who helped us do the math 3 years ago will remember the numbers. Now, back in 2012, it was Bill over here who popularized those numbers, writing about it in Rolling Stone. And he wasn't even given the cover story. That belonged to Justin Bieber, okay? But thanks to you guys, thanks to the way that story resonated and the way it was picked up by the climate justice movement. It is now the World Bank, Deutsche Bank, the Bank of England, and pretty much everyone else that is also doing the math. Now, for those of you who don't remember the math, here's a refresher course. Fossil fuel companies currently have 5 times more carbon in their proven reserves than is compatible with the 2-degree temperature target that our government set when they went to Copenhagen. They said they wouldn't let temperatures increase by more than 2 degrees Celsius. And by the way, that is really dangerous. But fossil fuel companies have 5 times more than that. Keep that number in your head. That means that Exxon and Chevron and BP and Shell and Peabody, as well as the banks that finance them, are not normal lousy companies. I've written about those. But they're not just doing normal bad things in the name of profit. These are rogue companies who are careening past the planet's physical limits. And it is our job to turn them off.
That's right. That's right. Now, Naomi, when you say turn them off, now I get excited when you say turn them off. Because I think that this crowd here and those watching around the world, that we can turn them off. So when I say turn, you say off. Turn. Off. Turn. Off. When I say turn, you... I know it's not that early yet, but let's try this one more time. When I say turn, you say off. Turn. Off. Turn. Off. When I say turn, you say off. Turn. Off. Turn. Off. And that's how you do that. That's right. So what do we have to do with Chevron? We have to turn them. Off. What do we do with Shell? Turn them. Off. The Koch brothers, turn them. Off. Oh, I like that. Yeah. So do you remember... So do you remember the day of that great climate march in New York last September? You remember that? That was a great day. 400,000 of us marching down 6th Avenue to Times Square. Here's a video of every last one of us. No, I'm serious. I'm very serious. Who was there marching? If you were there marching, then stand up and make some noise!
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
You're happy to see
That's it.
And it wasn't just in New York. That same day, there were big marches around the globe, including the largest climate demonstration in India's history, and a demonstration in Africa's largest city, Lagos. 30,000 in Melbourne, 50,000 in London, Nepal, Kiribati, Jakarta, Istanbul. The world is waking up to climate change, which is great. The world is starting to understand that we can't let our leaders mimic the development model of the United States. For example, my leaders in Malaysia and many, many leaders in Southeast Asia, that's what they aspire to become the United States of America. So we can't let them do that. So it's good that you guys are starting to turn things off because you use too much power. You use too much power, you use too much power, you use too much power. I use too much power, we all use too much power. And it's good that the rest of the planet is starting to figure out there are other models to follow. It's good, but it's not enough because this is a race and we're behind.
Now, Naomi shows you one number, and I want to show you another. Even though we have 5 times as much carbon as we can burn already in our reserves, the world's fossil fuel company spends $674 billion a year looking for more coal, oil, and gas. That's right. They spend over 600. You can boo on that. You can boo on that.
That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller, and this is The Struggle.